Well, hello. We have the fourth and final chapter to read today of the Catwings series. It's by Ursula Le Guin, Ursula K. Le Guin. I wonder what the K stands for. It's called Wonderful Alexander and the Catwings. When we left them at the end of chapter 3, they were all getting to know each other in the barn, and they were reunited with the owner in the red motor car and their mom. And Dad visited too in the car. Here's the first picture. Life was good at Overhill Farm. Alexander was growing fast. His tail was magnificent. He had nearly caught 2 mice. Every day he and Jane played all about the old barn and the woods. James taught them how to fish in the creek, and Roger taught him how to stalk. Thelma told him hair-raising stories about the city where she and other Catwings had been born. And little Harriet played hide and pounce every evening with him and Jane. But sometimes Alexander sat with his plumy tail around his paws and thought. He remembered how he had left home intending to do wonderful things. All he had done was get nearly run over by a truck, chased by a dog, stuck in a tree, and lost. Jane had saved him and brought him to this happy home. It was Jane who had done the wonderful thing. There they are. What wonderful thing could he possibly do for Jane? He sat with his tail around his paws and watched Jane soaring high, high, high above him, playing with the swallows in the sunlight of spring. He went and ate some kibbles. He was always hungry these days. And then trotted to their favorite play place near the woods and called Jane. She came swooping down on her beautiful black wings, landed right beside him, lightly on her little black paws, and smiled at him. Jane, said Alexander. Purr, said Jane. Jane, you can talk. Jane had stopped purring. She lashed her tail. I know you were terribly frightened when you were little, Alexander said. Thelma told me how you and your mother lost each other, and how you hid all alone in the attic of the deserted building and had nothing to eat. And then machines tore down the building. It must have been awful. But there must have been something even worse. Something so bad you can't talk about it. Something so bad you can't talk at all. But if you don't talk, Jane, how will you ever know what it was? How will we ever know what it was? Jane said nothing and did not look at Alexander. She began to stalk a grasshopper in the tall grass. You showed me that I could get down from that pine tree, Alexander said. I know you can't get away from the bad thing, but I can help. If I can't know what it was, then I can't help. You have to tell me, Jane. Jane went on stalking a grasshopper. Alexander put a paw on her tail so that she had to stop. She growled at him. You can growl all you like, he said. I'm going to stand on your tail till you talk to me. Jane growled again and bit Alexander hard enough that it hurt. Don't, Alexander said. Don't bite. Talk. Tell me. Tell me what frightened you in that attic. Hate, Jane said with her eyes round and staring and her fur on end. Hate, hate. Hate what? What do you hate? Jane's back arched and she stared at Alexander with such rage and terror that his fur too stood on end. Jane, he said, tell me. Rats, Jane said in a strange hissing voice. Rats. There were rats there. And she began to shiver all over, and Alexander curled himself around her to comfort her. Rats much bigger than me, Jane said, in a hoarse, weak voice that grew stronger as she spoke. They were hungry too. They hunted me all the time. They would wait. They whispered to each other. I couldn't get to the water in the gutter. They'd wait there to catch me. I could only fly a little. I hid in the rafters. But they climbed up there. I found a place, an old mouse nest in a box. They couldn't get in there, but they waited outside it and whispered. I didn't know what to do. I would call to my mother, but the rats would answer. And Jane hid her face in Alexander's warm, furry side. He washed her back and her neck and both her ears with his rough pink tongue and purred to her. It's all right. You got away from them. You don't ever have to be afraid of them again. You have wings, Jane. You can fly anywhere. I love you, Alexander, Jane said. I love you, Jane, Alexander said. I wanted to talk, I just couldn't. Let's go show the others, said Alexander. They hurried off, Alexander trotting along with his tail high, and Jane looping overhead to the old barn. Thelma, Roger, Harriet, James. Yes, Alexander, said the brothers and sisters who had been asleep up in the loft. They came popping out of the pigeonholes. What's up? That wasn't me calling you, Alexander said. Me, said Jane. It was me. I can talk. They all gathered round her while she explained. I was afraid if I talked, the only thing I could say would be the bad thing for rats, and then they'd be real again. But I know it's all right, and I can talk because Alexander showed me. Here's the last picture of our. If a rat ever came here, said little Harriet, it would find out what an air raid is. We've got to pay another visit to Mother, said James. It'll make her so happy when we talk to her, Jane. Alexander, said Roger very solemnly, you are wonderful. Yes, said Jane, he's wonderful. I know, said Alexander. Well, Alexander and the Catwings is concluded. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Ms. Le Guin.